All right.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to another SAR session. Today I'm just recording, so if anybody's not comfortable being on the recording, then please turn your camera off.
Okay.
This is our first. This is our first SARS since our first online SARS this year. So
Yes, exactly. So,
over to you, Cheryl.
okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to SAR's monthly May meeting. Good to see a few people here online. That's good. But just a reminder, we will be back at the Shakespeare Hotel next month, as well as online. Okay. Well, tonight we are honoured and delighted to have a talk from Alice Portman. She's got an amazing list of credits since becoming a professional astrologer. She did teach astrology a long time in Adelaide. She was president of the FAA in South Australia, spoke at many conferences, and one of her specialties is using the technique of dwarfs in the chart, for example. So tonight, drawing on her 50 years as a professional consulting and teaching, Alice will share practical methods, examples, perspectives that can help and reveal hidden strengths and new possibilities within a chart. So I'll now hand it over to Alice and say, welcome aboard. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you, Cheryl. All right. Well, today I thought I'd do something a little simpler but more complicated than usual, because so many people talk about a missing element, and of course, this isn't the case. And I'm going to show you how to find how these elements are activated. Yeah? So the front page, I went and searched for all the symbols for the elements, and I just thought it'd be interesting for people, but we'll get on to the next one now. Now, the elements are one of the most important and basic building blocks of the astrology of the earth. It's very much an astrology of the earth, yeah? And they describe 4 different ways of experiencing life, and they literally do. It's fascinating to see just how people relate according to their major elements. So let's have a bit of a look at fire. This represents passion, action, energy, inspiration, courage, leadership, adventure. They've got a very direct nature, and they're very willing to take risks. Yeah? My brother, who's got Sun conjunct Mars in Sagittarius in the 9th, has travelled the world innumerable times in all kinds of places, many of which many other white people haven't been to. And not only does he have all that Sagittarius component, he's got Aries rising as well, so he's very fiery. Yeah? I'd never dare to do any of the stuff he's done. Earth, which I've got a lot more of, it represents practicality, stability, material security, groundedness, sensory, discipline, reliable, patient, builder nature, tradition and structure, and it's connected to the signs of Taurus, Virgo and Capricorn. So they're the ones that tend to keep people organised and stable. Air, also, which I've got a lot of, is known for being intellectual, communicative, curious, analytical thinkers. Social connections, always very important for air. And they're very theoretical. You have to bring them down to earth with their theories quite often. No? And they're connected to Gemini, Libra and Aquarius. And then the water element. These are our emotional, intuitive people, like to be nurturing, compassionate, have a lot of depth and intensity, a lot of feelings, work well in the subconscious realm, often very artistic, have very strong intuition, and that's connected to Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So there are 4 elements. They're all important in our lives. If we're not working with all of them, we become disassociated, dishonest in some way or another. You know?
Is it loading the app?
Sorry? Did somebody say something? No. Okay. So we all have each of these elements in our genetic pattern. Sorry, how I've got to go back. Every one of us do. How do I go back?
You press the back key, and you see you've got, I don't know what your keyboard's like, but there should be 4 little arrows, one pressed, one pointing backwards.
It's probably because you don't have the app loaded on your laptop.
I don't know. Where's the 4 little arrows, love?
It's on your keyboard.
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry.
There we go.
So each of these elements in our whole genetic pattern. Our genetic pattern is based on these elements, and none of us are missing them. Elements are emphasized by planets activating them, and the strongest activation is usually the elements of the sun and moon signs, and angles, of course, could also activate an element very strongly. Yeah. But what happens if no planets activate an element? And quite a lot of astrologers, people say, this person has no fire or no earth or no air or no water. And of course, they wouldn't be alive if this was the case, as our whole genetic pattern is based on each of these elements and their combinations. So these people do have all those elements within them. They actually need to find another way of manifesting them in their lives. So let's look at ways in which this can happen. Yeah? The person might have quite a lot of that element being activated but hidden beneath the surface. And we can discover if this is the case through the Dwad system, which we're going to do a bit of. Yeah? People who do not have a planet activating an element will very often have one of the planets that rule the element highlighted in their chart. It could be conjunct an angle or the sun or moon or ruler of an angle. Almost always that's the case. And people overlook the houses. I don't know why, because there's a very strong correlation to houses and signs, and houses connected to that element are often occupied. People will also find an environment that contains that element and live or work in that area. And they'll be very, very, very drawn to those who have an abundance of that element in their own chart, and therefore act for them as an activator. So it's always very interesting to see who you're drawn to. Now, we're going to do a tiny bit of this at the end of the talk. If you can find the correct conception chart, it usually has an emphasis on the missing element in the birth chart. But when I've been able to find the correct conception chart, and I've had people that haven't had planets activating elements, I've found this is the case. Yeah? Secondary progressions will activate the missing element, and people often move to places where the angles or planets ruling the non-activated element are emphasised frequently, because I get a lot of people from other countries here in Adelaide, as I'm sure you do in Sydney. You know? Now, here we come to the Dwads. Every zodiac sign has every other zodiac sign within it. You know? So you've got one zodiac sign with 12 sections of each other zodiac sign, and it's following is a Dwad chart that shows us this process. So these are readily available, I think, now, but if you want to take a screenshot, you can. So assuming the person is an Aries with no planets activating water signs, if they're born between 7.5 and 10, they're in the Cancer section of Aries. If they're born between 17.5 and 20 degrees, they're in the Scorpio section of Aries. And if they're born at 27.5 to 30 degrees, they're in the Pisces section of Aries. Huh? So they even if they don't have planets activated sign, their sign is got that within it. Yeah? And you can do it with each of the 12 signs of the zodiac for all of the elements. So it's quite important to remember that if you're doing anybody's chart. It becomes extremely important. You know? Now, I don't mind people asking questions. I can't, I haven't got a little hands up sign here, but if you want to ask me questions as we go, do you? No?
If people want to ask, then I invite people to write the question in the comment, and I'll monitor those, and then I can share those with you or invite the person to actually speak. So I'm keeping track of anybody coming in and out of the room and any comments I'll make.
Lovely. Thank you. All right. Now, we're getting to the fun part in a minute where we all discuss it. But some people who don't have planets activating an element have been kind enough to give me their charts so we can see how they work. But first, I thought it would be interesting to look at the chart of a country that doesn't have planets activating an element. And of course, Australia is one. The Commonwealth of Australia's chart is the People's Chart. The swearing-in chart is the political chart of Australia. So for this purpose, I'm using the Commonwealth chart. Australia doesn't have planets activating the water element. Does this mean we live in a country with no emotional feeling? I actually haven't seen this to be the case. We seem to be generally pretty compassionate race of people, no? So here we are with the Commonwealth of Australia's chart. And because the only active element we've got of water is the midheaven, that midheaven at 407 of Cancer becomes extremely important in the Australian chart, for the People's Chart. This is often what happens, and we're going to be doing Jasmine later on. If you don't have planets activating an element and you do have an angle activating an element, that angle becomes extraordinarily powerful, because it's the major activator for you in your chart. Australia's got no planets activating water, but is surrounded by oceans. It also has a vast underground water table. We're renowned for swimmers. And interesting enough, remember I said a planet is usually conjunct an angle. If there's no planets in water, we can see Neptune up there within 7 degrees of a conjunction to the midheaven. So it becomes a very strong component as well. So that midheaven Neptune setup is extremely important. And I thought I'd have a look and see which prime ministers have been very effective. And of course, I went straight to Gough Whitlam because he changed Australia completely, like completely. I remember it happening. I'm old enough to. He was only a prime minister for a very short time, but everything changed in that time, and the state changed. And he was a Cancerian with his sun in the 10th house, and his Cancerian Pluto conjunct Australia's midheaven. You can see it there. It's within a degree. There's the Pluto there. Venus is up there as well. And all his Cancerian stuff is in the 9th and 10th stellium there. With the Pluto, of course, he had to deal with major power plays and eventually got kicked out. But nevertheless, he transformed our country. It was a terribly interesting time. He was very watery. You can see he had the moon in Scorpio as well. A whole lot of stuff. He was really watery. We don't seem to keep our water prime ministers for very long, but they always seem to have a strong effect on the country. And if any of you want to study political astrology, it's a fascinating area. Now, I then did the Dwad chart. Now, I don't know how many of you know about Dwad charts. I've shown you the Dwad graph, but I worked out how to turn those 2.5 degrees of the Dwad sign into an actual Dwad chart. I won't go into describing how to do it now, but if you want to know more, it's on my website, aliceportman.com, and I described it in my talk on Dwads at the conference, so that's available through me, or I think it's still available through the FA as well. It's a very interesting thing, the Dwad charts. Surprisingly, it doesn't show much underlying water. It usually does for people. But you can see the Ceres anti-vertex there in Scorpio. And you can see down there the Neptune conjunct the vertex at 0 Taurus. And that's actually really important because Queen Elizabeth has a sun conjunct that, and King Charles has his moon got conjunct that. Hence, we've got a very strong affinity. I don't think we'll become a republic as long as Charles is on the throne because of this affinity. Also, people or countries with these degrees will always be important to Australia. They'll have a stronger effect in some way or another. It will resonate with them in some way. It doesn't have to be good, it can be difficult, but it certainly has a strong effect. So you're getting the idea? Now, I call this Australia's conception chart because it maps the first time an official government foot walked on this land as researched by Ed Tamplin. Interestingly, it does have a couple of planets activating water, Mars and Uranus. But funny enough, the reverse of Australia, none activating fire. And Australia's birth chart itself has got an abundance of fire. However, like nothing activating fire, it's got a sun ruling a fire sign on the ascendant. Yeah? So that fits that theme. And here is its Dwad chart. It's got plenty of fire and again a planet ruling fire rising. So you've always got to look at the Dwads for the people who have no planet activating element. It's almost always there. I don't know how to explain it because the Dwad charts are actually as strong as the natal chart. They're a resonance from the natal chart. No? I've traced those resonances through the genetic history of families, so it's really quite important. So if you're doing people that are having no planets activating element, you need to do their Dwads. You don't have to do the Dwad charts unless you want to find the degrees that are important, but at least look at their Dwads before you make any decisions there. So here we go with people. Now, this is where I want the interaction. I've arranged the talk so we get plenty of feedback. Yeah? Otherwise, it's going to be a very short talk. I hope it's not going to be a very short talk. No planets activating fire. It was difficult to find because I lost my files on people who don't have a planet activating element when my computer crashed. But all of you have come to the rescue. Yeah? And Tara came up with only one outer planet activating a fire sign. So she's going to be very drawn to the element of fire in her home and work. And she'll also be drawn towards those who have fire signs prominent in their natal chart. Yeah. So here's Tara, one outer planet, Uranus in Sagittarius. Now, this brings me to another thing. People tend to discount the power of the outer planets. They're pretty strong. They're in a sign for a very long time. And the whole time they're in that sign, they're resonating that sign. Yeah? So rather than being less powerful, I tend to think they're very powerful. And I'd like other people to do a little bit of research on that at some stage too. You know? It also puts a lot of emphasis on Uranus in her chart, a lot more than the normal astrological measurements assess. Yeah? And so people with planets in Aries, Leo and Sagittarius will be necessary for her. And she's also got a planet ruling a fire sign on her ascendant Jupiter, which puts the emphasis on Sagittarius again. You know? And as she's already got a strong 8th house and Sagittarius on the cusp of the 8th, Jupiter rising, it throws emphasis back into a strong 8th house as well. But you can see on the house level, she's got the moon in the 9th, which is a Sagittarius resonance house. You know? So she's not lacking in access to fire energy, but the planets that are activating, the ones that I've mentioned, are increased in importance a very great deal. You know? So she's always going to find a resonance with people with planets in late Sagittarius, people with planets around Aquarius, that 12 degrees or so, and that 20 or so Taurus with the Jupiter. They're going to have a particularly important resonance for Tara. And here's a Dwad chart. Now, her chart shows a stellium in Aries, giving her a considerable amount of fire within. Look at it. Mercury, South Node, Venus and Neptune. Right? people with planets conjunct the degrees of the stellium will be very, very important to her at different times in her life, particularly around that 23 degree with the Venus Neptune there. They're going to have a powerful effect. Generally, all of Aries will, but the closer you get to those particular degrees accentuated, the stronger the importance will be. And up here, you can see the midheaven at 6:30 of Leo, again activating fire. And interestingly enough, that's my nodal axis across there, and I'm talking about a chart today. I'm always interested in these coincidences. Yeah? Now, is Tara here so we can talk about it? Any Tara?
I think her mum's here.
All right, Mum will do. What's her mum's name?
Sue.
Yeah, I'm here at Sue. I'm
Hi,
her
Sue.
mum. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the Dwad chart, and it's so fascinating because she's married to a Leo, and he's got his moon at 23 degrees Aries, which is like got the Venus and Neptune there. Yeah, it's just really interesting to me that the degrees are actually activated with her Blake, her partner.
Yeah, and that's not unusual with Dwad charts.
But how interesting is exact degrees?
Yeah, it often is. When I was doing my research on the genetic history, I was working into the Dwads of Dwads, which can be called super Dwads or sub Dwads, depending on the astrologer using them.
Right.
And those exact degrees come up with grandparents. So Prince Harry's super Dwad is exactly the same degree as his grandfather, Prince Philip. Huh?
Really?
Exactly.
Oh,
I mean, you get so many. I mean, it's exact. It doesn't wriggle around like it's exact.
no, I'm fascinated. I'll take that Dwad chart and work with it for a bit.
Now,
Yeah.
what do you think of her? I mean, is she drawn? Well, she's obviously drawn to fire people.
Yeah, and both of her parents are fire people.
Yeah,
We're both Saggies, by the way.
yeah. There you go. Yeah. So, because
Yeah,
it's a strong Saggy emphasis there.
that's right in the chart.
Yeah. So,
And but I've never worked with Dwads, and I'm interested. I'll definitely find out how to do them.
well, all the people, all these degrees, see there, she's going to draw people with these degrees to her
Yeah,
at
yeah,
different times in
friends I
life.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's got
It's
them
not
too.
necessarily, I mean, it can be different times in her life, and they can be they can have quite a strong effect on her.
Right, right. I know with her friends too. I'm interested to look at it. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's a
Thank you for
start.
that.
You're working not so much with the aspects, you're working more with the signs and elements and so on with the Dwad charts.
Right.
The aspects
But to
do
have
work.
the degrees, so
Yeah, they're exact degrees, almost always. Or you can get a little bit of wriggle room, but the closer they are to the Dwad degree, the more powerful they are for that person, the more direct
right.
it is to them. Yeah?
Great. Thank you.
Right, well, let's move along. Where are we going? Now, this is her secondary progress chart. I have to move these things
All
around.
right.
These also, people again tend to dismiss the importance of secondary progress charts. I once
I
did,
don't.
yeah, I'm sure you don't. I once did a year ahead for somebody, and I made a mistake, and I used their secondary progress chart instead of the natal one. And he was absolutely astonished at the dead accuracy and exact timing that I gave, you know.
But well, she's just had a really big change in her career, and the moon, that 8 degrees Cancer is trining her Mars in Pisces, 8 degrees, 8 degrees Pisces, and when it happened, I can't remember now, but that 20 degrees Cancer was activated. when she got the offer for this really big job that she's really wanted all her life. And that's happened just recently. And I looked at her progress chart and I thought, God, that's really happening.
Well, don't overlook the
Cross Neptune.
progress Mars, progress Mercury moving into Aries conjunct Ceres. Now, this is another hobby horse of mine. If people are going to use Pluto, they've got to use Ceres. Ceres is a dwarf planet. It fits all the categories. It's not an asteroid. It's perfectly round. It's cleared its orbit in the solar system, so it's a dwarf planet. And it's, of course, much closer to us than Pluto.
Right, right.
And it's very powerful. In a lot of work I've done, I call it a gateway planet because it's always there in the charts of birth or death. It's a really interesting one if any of you want to delve into it.
Right.
See that she got her job with that Ceres midheaven.
Yeah, right on there. Yeah.
And it's just moved into Aries, you know? So it's really activating that fire element for her as well, you know?
Yeah, and she wanted to work in something where she felt like she was doing something like a caring thing as well. So she's working as a, with disability support people, training them. Anyway, this is just what she wanted. Very perfect.
Really good. Well, we'll see what happens when Mars goes by progression into Aries and then conjoins to Aries and then conjoins to the progress midheaven. They should be important times for her. Huh?
Yeah, very interesting.
And also keep an eye on, so because you get that progress moon's moving towards a trine to Pluto in the next couple
Right.
of months.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting one.
That will. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot happening for her at the moment. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
I was hoping people give me quite a lot of feedback with this because I want a lot of chatter here. Now, Jasmine came in at the last moment via Cheryl. Is Jasmine here?
Oh, I don't know. She was going to try, depending on her work.
Okay.
Right.
I am here. I'm here.
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, you're there, are you, Jess? Good.
Yes, I was just distracted.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I thought this was good because she's an example. Jasmine, you're a good example of an angle activating an element, you know? Really, the angles take precedence. It makes you different to everybody else born that day, you know?
Oh,
And
that's nice. I like to be unique.
Of course you do with Uranus Neptune on the midheaven. It gives you a really strong access to the fire element because of that placement. So don't discount that. And there we've got this weeny, tiny little thing called Chiron in between Saturn and Uranus. It's so minuscule, I've got no idea why it works, but it works. It really does work. Why does this little minuscule thing between Saturn and Uranus work? Has anybody worked it out? But it is activating fire for you. Huh?
What is that?
Chiron.
I'm not sure.
What?
Chiron.
She's only just hasn't learned astrology yet. She's wanting to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still very new as well.
Okay. Oh, well, this might be a bit fast for
advanced.
you.
I thought so, but I thought I'd jump on to see if I can understand. I am a little bit lost, but that's all right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But it'd be good for you. You've got a good Saturn in Aquarius trying the Sun. Or people who study astrology need good Saturns. And you've got the ability to research with your Pluto and Moon in the 8th in Scorpio. And you love unusual things with Uranus Neptune up there on the midheaven. So you should be fine studying astrology. There you go.
I've always had a pull, but it's a very in-depth thing to understand. There's so many twists and turns I've noticed.
Oh, I started learning Vedic astrology when I was very young. I had a chap from India teaching me. I was learning Sanskrit as well. And I realised if I wanted to do either well, I'd have to choose one or the other because they were both so complicated and in-depth. And because I was a Western woman and I chose Western astrology, it's still very, very sexist. It wasn't as sexist as Vedic astrology, which is terribly sexist. And we can fix all that, the more women who get into it. But anyway, there you are. So you've got massive access to fire sign with the Aries at 14. Now, when you look at your Dwad chart, I've got to move all these out of the way. You've also got a lot of access to fire there, because you see you've got the Sun at 29 Sagittarius, which is going to connect you up to the chart before with her Uranus there. And you've got the Moon at 351 of Leo. So you've got a huge amount of access to fire one way or another. Now, what do you do, if you don't mind sharing, Jazz? What sort of work do you do?
I've changed multiple times. I've just started in real estate at the moment. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up, though.
Okay, I'll try to go back. Why won't it go back? Am I pressing the wrong button? No, it just will not go back. All right, well, that's an interesting one with Neptune and Uranus on your midheaven in your natal chart. I'll see how you do there. Maybe you'll sell a lot of properties by the sea that have got electrical problems or something like that. Do you like fire sign people?
What do you mean by far side people? Or
Fire,
fireside?
yeah. Do you
Well,
like
Leo's Jazz, Sagittarius and Aries, those signs.
Well, Mum's an Aries. I don't know many Sages, but I've met a lot of Aries and we tend to get along. But that's all I sort of know with that.
No, that fits. Because you've got Aries rising and you look for activation of the fire sign element, and so that works very well. You'll also find people with planets around 3 or 4 Leo or 29 of Sagittarius can have an effect on you as well.
Oh, interesting. Because, I don't know many people with Sag. And Leah's a new one as well.
Yeah, well,
I think I'll be
looking
out for that a bit more.
Yeah. And take a picture of your Dwad chart, because these degrees are usually very important in your family line or with people you run across at different times in your life. Yeah?
Ooh.
We'll see how you go. Right, onwards and upwards. What's happening now? Here we go. Now, no planets activating Earth. So thrilled that Anne decided she'd share here. She doesn't have any planets activating the Earth element, but will be very drawn to the element of Earth in her home and work in some way, and also drawn towards those who've got Earth signs prominent in their natal chart, as we found that's working very well. Also, Anne's got a 6th house activated by her Moon-Mars conjunction, and remember, bear in mind the Moon-Mars conjunction's really quite important in this case. And her vertex is in Taurus. People constantly overlook the vertex. Vertex axis. I've got no idea why, because it's calculated in exactly the same way as the ascendant and midheaven axes are calculated. The vertex axis is the intersection of the prime vertical with the ecliptic. It's a perfectly valid pointed energy, and it works really, really well. Okay? Somebody said something.
Sorry, I'm here, but I can hardly hear you. I don't know. My volume must be down.
Okay. Is everybody else having any problems?
No. I can hear you very clearly.
Okay. Yeah.
And now I've lost the big chart, so I don't know what I've done.
Okay.
Who's talking?
So
That's Anne.
That's Anne speaking.
Hi.
I don't know what I've done. I've somehow made the chart really tiny, and I don't know how to get it back.
Well, sweetie, I can't help you there. Maybe.
No, Lawrence, can you help me?
Yeah, if you go to the top corner, the top right-hand corner, you know those little squares that we talked about earlier?
Top right-hand corner.
Yeah, there's a little symbol, the last one. If you click on that.
Which, sign in, no.
So, okay, so
Sorry, mucked it up now.
no, well, there should be a little symbol at the very top in the right-hand corner, which if you click it, it will
Oh, wait a minute. I've got standard side-by-side
yeah. So
speaker.
click side by side gallery, the third
Oh,
option.
side-by-side gallery. Okay. Oh, thank you. I've learned something. Sorry about that, Alice.
That's okay, sweetie. I'm just as bad.
Oh,
I thought I was a
oh,
half an hour late.
IT to the rescue. Yeah.
All right. So you've got here that vertex axis, which is at 10 of Taurus, and this is a terribly important placement. So you'll find people with planets around that, it doesn't have to be the exact degree, but around those degrees will have some quite profound effects on you at some time in your life. It's not all the time.
Absolutely.
Okay? And then Ceres, the dwarf planet, is activating Earth by itself, and it's near the vertex. It's around 8 degrees. So this is also quite an important energy for you as well. Right? You're very much a vertex axis person because if you look at the other side, the anti-vertexes can join in Jupiter in just under 7 degrees, or around 7 to 8 degrees as well. So maybe it'd be good for you to study it up at some stage.
Well, Taurus has absolutely been very important in my life because I had 3 Taurian partners
All right.
over
Oh,
the
boy.
time.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. So there you
And
go.
interesting because that series there, one of the very significant ones, we created cards together. So there was a real creative element to it.
That's the 5th house. What a nice thing. What, tarot
And
cards?
in the 5th house too. So,
Yeah. So what sort of cards, Anne?
well, astrology, well, my sister and I did astrology greeting cards together, and Sue has Sun, Capricorn, Taurus ascendant, and Bert, who's since sadly passed away, um, we did humorous Christmas cards together, and he'd do the illustrations, and I would do the poetry, like a little doggerel or something. And then we also, the 3 of us, my sister, Bert, and I, we did spring cards, with butterflies on it. And Sue did the illustrations on hers, and Bert did them on mine, and we wrote poetry. Yeah, so
That sounds lovely.
yeah, it was good. Yeah.
And how did you sell them through? Did you sell them at
Well, we sold the astrology cards. Just I used to run around when I was more active and younger, around to Adia Bookshop and all these other little bookshops around, alternative and what was it, uh, the Alice Bailey group, and then also in Melbourne, I was selling them there as well. But I think that probably because I didn't have any earth, I balked at the idea of making it a business, I just got cold feet. I had all these ideas. My sister and I did the astrology greeting cards and sold them. And then I thought, oh, we could make tea towels out of it and everything. I had all these ideas, but I really think that not having that earth,
well, you do.
it stopped me, from, yeah, I did, but yeah.
You do.
But
Now, let's have a look at your Dwad chart. Click. There we go. Now,
oh,
remember that moon
oh,
last.
that's interesting because I
Where?
nearly married a Virgo, a temperamental Hungarian Virgo, but
Oh, boy.
he was too much of a nitpicker.
Oh,
I
God.
couldn't handle it. But yeah, so that's interesting. He was a scientist. We're good friends now. We sort of work through stuff karmically. He's back in Budapest, and we keep in touch. But yeah, so very significant male partners with Taurus and Virgo. Oh, and Mum, of course, was a Virgo.
There you go.
Yeah, makes sense.
What degree was your mum's son?
Oh, offhand, she was born on the 7th of September, 1914.
So it's around the middle of Virgo.
Yeah.
It sits up here. Never mind, there you are. So you've got quite a lot of underlying earth in you.
Yeah, that's good to know. I knew that, people who know me, they said, Anne, but you don't seem unorganized because, like even when I was at uni, if I was writing essays, they always had to be on time. If I'm writing an article for Astrology magazine, I always made sure they were on time. So I wasn't, without that kind of organizational skill. So that makes sense.
And also, if you have a look, there's Neptune in Capricorn as well. See that there around on the seventh cusp?
Ah,
There's
yeah, well, my sister's a Capricorn, so
another Earth
and Bert, the when I did the funny little greeting cards with, he was a Taurus with a Capricorn ascendant. So it seems to be all around me that kind of.
Yeah, it would be. What? I mean, do you have affinity for trees or things of the earth?
Yes,
Do you
yes,
like
yes.
crystals and those sorts of things?
Yeah, I've done crystals, yes.
There you are. So you will be always drawn to things to do with the earth, because it sort of continues to activate the earth element within you. No?
Yeah, I tried a bit of amateur gardening when we first moved into a house. We thought it was a palace because Mum and Dad were both teachers, saved up their money and bought a house. I think it was £450
Back
in
then.
Randwick. Can you imagine that these days?
God, boy. All right. Well, there we are. Onwards and upwards. Yeah. So
Thank you very much.
thanks, Anne. We might get back to a few things later on. But here you are, Sue. Yeah. So brain to the ready, Sue. She's got a midheaven in Taurus at 622 of Taurus. That activates. Remember, I said angles can really activate an element, and it makes it specific to you in a day where a period when there aren't any planets activating Earth, the element. So the angle activating it becomes awfully important. Like it's a really strong energy point there.
All right. I didn't think of that.
And you've got Saturn rising in Cancer. Saturn's the ruler of the Earth sign, it's ruler of the descendant. And so that's, again, bringing the Earth element into play. Now, I wanted to ask you, in February 1952, secondary ascendant conjoined Saturn. In that period of 51 to 53, as that progression was working, did anything important happen in your life?
Now, let me just see. That's a long way back, hey? 51.
It is.
Oh, I know. Yeah, what happened was we moved. Like I was only a kid. Like I was born 45. So I was 6. When I was 6, it was a very big move. I moved to Dubbo from Walgett, and I remember it very distinctly. Well, as a kid, it was just I was very disappointed. We're supposed to have 2 lions out the front of this house, and they weren't there. No, I had to adjust because there was no. We moved on my birthday. I remember 51 on my birthday in December, and there was no birthday party or no birthday cake. That's all I can remember.
Oh, dear. Well, that's terribly important to a little kid.
That was very important. There was nobody, we just didn't have time to do that. And we no cake or anything. Anyway, well, that was actually a very strong time for me because then I went to this new school and I was out of step with everything. I'd started school in this other town. And we'd started cursive writing, and then I had to learn printing, and the nun used to come around and with a ruler. It was quite traumatic, actually. Anyway, I mean that's what was happening then. The Saturn, it was riding. Yeah, it was a real change, and that's where I was for.
There you are with the harsh people, because it then followed solar arc came through at 7 to 8, so you had the 6 through to 8. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
conjoining
that was important time.
Yeah. And I think it would have been. But therefore, nevertheless, that's giving you quite a lot. And also, the years the secondary progressed ascendant was moving through Virgo.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That would have been a very 30-year period and really valuable for activating the earth element. And I have found that when the secondary progressed ascendant is going through a sign where there are no planets activating that sign, that is a very important and powerful time for the person.
Okay, that's something to look at.
Yeah, it is really something to look at. Don't overlook it. It's a really interesting one. There's a whole lot of things that really bring that energy to the fore during that time. I did at one stage formulate that the people hadn't, like if you haven't got planets activating an element, it could be because you haven't had the opportunity in other lifetimes to use that element for some reason, or have lost it through some way or another. So when the secondary progressions come through, it's really giving you a chance to reactivate that whole energy.
Well, I spent all my time out with rocks, and when I moved to Dubbo, and I had this incredible urge to do pottery or to make forms, and I used to go to the Plaster of Paris place and just ask for a bit of. They were doing the molding or something, and I used to beg some. I didn't have any money. I used to beg some plaster and make forms, and it was really, really interesting. And yeah, I've always loved rocks and all sorts of. So I was quite yeah. And now I do a lot of Tai Chi and live on the rocks, live outside, so it's quite a strong. The earthy thing's quite strong for me.
There you go. It fits the whole thing well. And
Yes.
here's your quad chart.
Oh, this is what I want to look at. Yeah.
So the earth element is covered by the sun Chiron at about 4 to 5 of Taurus.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's like mid-heaven.
And by Mars at 8:44 of Virgo.
Virgo. All right.
So
interesting.
It's always keep an eye on anything that happens that goes through those degrees.
Yeah.
Because it's an underlying energy, transits can activate it because it's an underlying resonance of your own natal chart.
Right.
And it's always interesting to see how it's activated when the transits come through or the progressions.
How interesting that is. Yeah, thank you so much for that.
And also you've got the Neptune. See there, the Neptune in Capricorn?
Yeah.
I see in Capricorn. So you've got all 3 earth elements activated in your Dwad chart.
Okay. Okay, so we do we don't really miss out on elements.
Well, no, we don't. We did. I mean, this is what really gets me with people saying a missing element. We're all made up of these 4 elements on Earth. Like they're part of our whole. I mean, you've got a body, so you've got to have earth.
Yeah, we've got to have it.
You've got energy, so you've got to have fire. Otherwise, you'd be dead. And so, it's there, but, it's just finding times where it's activated if you haven't got planets activating it.
Thank you for that. I'm really interested in the Dwad chart. The moon is on my Pluto. Anyway, that's I'll have a good look at that.
Yeah, have a good look.
Thank you.
Fascinating chart.
Yeah.
All right, onwards it goes. No planets activating air. Now here comes Blake.
Oh, Blake isn't here. He's sorry, he's Tara's partner. Okay. I sent it because Tara and Blake, she's got no fire and he's got no air. Then she's very airy. She's got sun and moon in air, and he's got his sun and moon in fire. And
which gets me to the complementary thing, which we'll get to in a bit. But remember that it's not that they haven't got it; it's just
but that's right. But the
so
planet sun,
Blake is always drawn to the element of air in his home or work.
yeah,
Drawn towards those who have air signs prominent in their natal charts.
she has it in spades. She's very, very airy, and
so here's his natal chart.
right,
We do find angles activating air for him.
right. That's true. Yeah.
He's got a midheaven in Libra, and he's got a node vertex in Gemini. So again, everybody around that time hasn't got a planet activating air, but you're getting the angle for this specific person. So he's activating his air through the midheaven degree, and he's activating his air through the vertex and node,
These node, that's right. And she's, yeah. And and it's in the fifth house, and they're very drawn to each other, those two. Very beginning, yeah. And his moon's right there with her Duarte. What was it? The Venus and Neptune, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really close there.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just throwing a little thing that we're going to cover later on, but at conception, it was very likely he had Libra rising.
Okay, I'll check that out because I know his mum and I'll find out.
Does she know when he was conceived? Some mothers
Well,
do.
yeah, I don't know that, but I can ask her. I'm going to look at my own kids' conception charts. It's interesting. Yeah, I know mine pretty well, and I don't know whether she will, but I'll try.
Anyway, there we are. So we've got some interesting stories there.
Very interesting.
And here's his Dwad chart. Now,
That's
he
good.
has the Libra rising in the Dwad chart with Mars rising. See that?
Yeah, I see it.
Huge amount of stuff in Aquarius with Moon, Mercury, and Jupiter, and the anti-Vedics there.
Right.
So he's got his air element very satisfactorily.
Right.
And these degrees will always be important to him in some way during his life. Not necessarily all his life, but at different periods.
Yeah, it's where her moon's there at 12 degrees Aquarius. I mean, they're as partners, they've got a lot happening together.
Well, that's really nice because his Jupiter's at 10.
Yeah, I know, and they're very good couple. Very good couple. Yeah.
And they're complementing each other.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's more and more. Thank you for that. I'm going to get into that Duarte chart.
Yeah. Well, I can't understand. I can't understand why it's not. But mind you, I'm the one who discovered them. But there are other astrologers in the world working with her.
Yeah. I've never seen a way to do the chart. I mean, I've taken that and done the calculations, but it's good to see it all together in one chart.
Your solar fire will push them up. So will Astro Gold. Astro Gold pushes them up much more easily than solar fire does. Astro Gold's a very good program.
I think so too. That's all I use.
Yeah, well, it's got them. It's got the Dwad charts there.
Oh, okay. It's good.
And it's got the H harmonics there. I mean, Steffi's making a really good job of that program.
Right. Okay. I didn't realize that.
I'm on solar fire on this computer.
Oh, okay. I'm just using it on my iPad, so she doesn't have it'd be a less.
It's made for Apple anyway, but it's if you can't find the instructions, I'm just trying to think what it's under, but I can't. But
no, don't worry.
Astro Gold will tell you.
Yes, I'll check it out. Thank you.
Well, in addition, the air element has been really activated.
Really activated.
His secondary progressive ascendants moved through Aquarius.
Oh, okay.
So that whole time, Particularly, it would have been important when the secondary progressive ascendant activated the Aquarian degrees of his Dwad charts, which I think about 7 to 10 of Aquarius. So at some stage, you can have a look back and see what was happening when his secondary progressions activated those degrees.
Okay, I will.
And his secondary progress sun's now moving through Libra. So he's getting the air element activated really strongly.
Right. Yeah. He
the
started writing. I know he started writing novels or science fiction novels, and yeah. So that's
I'll go back because I want to look at his chart to see why. There we are. There's his chart. So there's the 5th and the 3rd are usually the creative, communicative people. So he's got quite a strong 5th, and Neptune's ruling his 3rd conjunct Jupiter. Right? Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
There we go. And I thought I'd throw in a Polly, you know?
Oh, yeah, Christopher Pye.
Yeah. Well, he's South Australian anyway, which is where I live. And he's a Liberal politician. He was really noted for his quick wit and skill with words, and yet he's got no planets or angles activating the air element in his chart. Not one. Huh? He does like attention with all that 10th house. Look at all of that. The Leo, midheaven, Jupiter, Sun. Very intense emotions with the Neptune moon, which, funny enough, Morrison had a Neptune moon in Scorpio as well. I kind of think the Liberal Party's main chart's got to have a lot of Scorpio in it because it just draws and draws all these Scorpionic people to it, you know. And I haven't worked out which chart it is. However, there it is, but nothing in air, and yet his communicative skills and song are really good. He does have Pluto and Uranus in the 11th, the house of networking, so that would have helped. But other than that, you know, he doesn't really have much air activation in his natal chart. But when you look at his dwads, cop the Aquarius, look, midheaven ascendant, Venus, Jupiter, and Chiron, a whole huge amount of air with a strong socialist conscience attached, huh? And again, with Jupiter there, a lot of benefit connected to it. And then he's also got Uranus at one of Gemini, which transiting Uranus will be going over soon. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in his life. Yeah? So again, we can't overestimate the importance of those Dwad charts. All right, no planets activating water. This is the one that really got me upset when I was on forums. It got slandered, no? People turned up their noses at people who didn't have any planets activating water. They called them cold, unempathetic, sociopaths, things like that. None of it was true, no? Quite often, the people with planets not activating water are pretty sensitive and caring people. Often really good at what they do. So we brought in Samantha. And this is Samantha and Cheryl are going to be fun for me to talk about in a minute, yeah? But there with Samantha is Pluto, the modern ruler of Scorpio, and Mars, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, right on the midheaven. That's activating the water element quite a lot. She's got the South Node in Cancer. We're going to talk about the nodal axis in a minute. Neptune conjoining the active vertex. This is another water planet activating an angle. And the water houses of Venus, 8th and 12th are activated by Venus and Jupiter. So she's got a lot of planetary activation and house activation of the water element. Angle activation and house activation of the water element. Even if no planets but the South Node are activating it. The South Node, the nodal axes are a point like the angles are. You know, they're a pointed energy, not a planetary placement. Nevertheless, with astrologers discern they're terribly important, yeah? Which brings me to the, what is it called? Evolutionary astrology stuff, which I'm not even sure is right. but they align the south node to past lives and the north node to future lives, if I recall it correctly. Yeah? This came in the 70s, by the way. It wasn't, as far as I know, no one in astrology before the 70s. When two people wrote books on it. And the one who wrote the nastiest and worst book was the one who became famous and the one that Stephen Forrest took over from. Yeah? However, in the southern hemisphere, the south node is the ascending node. It's still a south node, but it's the ascending node. So you may have to, and we've got to do some research on this, but you may have to read the south node like the north node in the southern hemisphere and the north node like the south node. Yeah? There's quite a lot of research that's got to be done in that area. Haven't heard a word. Are you all still there?
Still here. Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
I can hear you. Yes. We're all listening with intention.
Well, that's interesting to read that way if you're in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, there's a lot that changes in the southern hemisphere traditionally in traditional astrology. A lot of it I don't think is relevant here. But the nodal axis has always been an interesting point. When I first started astrology by teaching myself. It was for about a year, I think, and then Bonnie Mathis opened classes up in Adelaide and I took them. But I had to do it all from reading Northern Hemisphere books. And I thought, this is ridiculous. You know, I had to cut and cut and cut astrology down to its bare bones because I was in the Southern Hemisphere and a whole lot of the stuff was connected to the seasons of the Northern Hemisphere. I mean, people on the equator or the North Pole or the Southern Hemisphere, it's just not relevant to, you know? So I questioned dignities and exaltations and all of that stuff as well. I still do. But I did wonder about the nodes and what you did with them because of this, because the south node is the ascending node in the southern hemisphere. And I do think it needs to have a lot of research. You know? Anyway, there's Samantha with quite a lot of interesting stuff to do with water. Now, when we do her Dwad chart, she's got 13 Cancer rising, so that's an angle activating water. And then she's got Mercury and Ceres in Pisces activating the water up there in the 8th on the cusp of the 9th. You know? So she's quite a busy girl. But I don't think you could say she's missing water. She's got a whole lot sort of activated in a different sort of way. That being said, she's still going to be very drawn to people who've got a lot of water in their chart and places with a lot of water. Like I know somebody who's got Neptune on an angle, lives by the sea and won't go away, you know, because it feels like she wouldn't be home anywhere but by the sea. So the Neptune's working very strongly as a water energy for her. You know? All right. Now I get towards the end of my talk, but some really interesting stuff. Yeah? This is, I think, possibly Samantha's conception chart. Yeah? If she's a natural birth and conceived in the same location as she was born, this shows the moon in Cancer. This happens a lot. Now, what I do is there's a whole new talk, and it's a lot more technical because I worked a lot with conception charts. If you get the right conception chart, day-age harmonics to the date of birth will show the birth. Huh? It will show it happening. Even if it's, you know, prem or anything else, it will show the birth happening. So I thought I'll check Samantha's, and she's at the time of her birth, she had the day-age harmonic descendant conjunct Uranus, and Uranus is a major trigger for birth in day-age harmonics. It comes up a huge amount of the time. Yeah? So I thought that was actually really interesting, that particular one. So you've got the moon in the opposite sign to her ascendant. It's on, I can talk forever on this stuff. But I thought it's an interesting possible conception chart, and the way you can tell whether they're right or not is two ways. Progressions and solar arcs and so on will work with conception charts if you've got the right one, yeah. And the day-age harmonics for the conception charts will work like a dream if you've got the right one. You can easily know if you haven't, yeah. So anyone who wants to play with that can do that too. So here's Samantha's secondary progressions, and it really does show the activation of water. The secondary progressed sun has been moving through Scorpio for a long time. It's been nearly 30 years it's been moving through Scorpio. And her secondary progressed ascendant is about to start moving through Pisces, and her secondary progressed vertex is in the middle of Cancer. So she's in the throes of activating the water element within her really strongly, and has been for the last 29.5 years, and will continue to be for the rest of her life, I would think. And that's always something you check. As I said, if a person doesn't have a planet activating an element, you go straight to the secondary progress charts and see when it's being activated. It's by the angles. Oh, and the progress planets, of course. It's really important. Terribly important times in their lives, usually. And this is a chart of Cheryl. Hello, Cheryl. We had lots of charts. She told me all about a chart. I thought, that was really interesting. Now, Cheryl's got a Sun and Saturn in Cancer, which activates Samantha's natal 7th house and is conjunct Samantha's South Node. You will often have the nodal axis activated in families, yeah? And this makes, it increases the power of Samantha's South Node because it's activated by a mother. It's a very powerful placement. All right, so now we get to Cheryl's chart on the inside and Samantha's chart, and this isn't part of the talk, but I thought I'll throw it in because you might be interested. Samantha's chart on the outside, it's not just her natal chart, it's her possible conception chart. Yeah? I'm going to move this out of the way. Note that I used the prenatal Bailey conception as system for natural births. It doesn't work for births that have been medically assisted, but it works really well with natural births. You know? But what I found really interesting, I wanted to see, was it possible that Cheryl conceived Samantha on that period? And there's several signatures you look for, but the one that came up here, you can see Pluto on Cheryl's IC, and Pluto's the ruler of the 5th cusp, which is a strong indication of a possible time of conception. So it checked out. I don't know whether it's the right conception chart. And there's your series. See, the Cheryl's, the conception vertex is on Cheryl's series. And remember I said Ceres was a gateway planet, comes up a lot in things to do with birth and death. Yeah? So I thought a couple of signatures there. The only way we know is if you work with that chart and see if it responds to progressions, directions, and transits and so on. Is that fitting? Does that suit Cheryl? Do you think that sort of fits well with what you know?
Well, all the maths is right as far as, all those times are right. So it must work. Mm.
Well, I thought I'd throw it in.
Yeah, it's good.
Because there's 2 or 3 signatures there. And it's really interesting to work with these if you want to try. I mean, this is the time that the seed was planted. You've got a very strong pattern of you can only be born at a time that's connected to your conception unless it's medically interfered with, yeah?
was meant to be.
There's a whole cycle. You can only be born at a certain time connected to conception. Right? Even if you're prem, it's connected into conception. So that initial conception chart is awfully important, really, really interesting to work with if you find the right one for you. It's not just working on the person. The parents' charts have both got to show the possibility of conceiving that period of time as well, no?
Right.
And there's variations if you conceived in a different location to the place you were born. But the Bailey system teaches you how to calculate for those.
It's funny that, so anyhow, but the fact that her progressed sun's going 29 degrees going to change. There's going to be a big change happening, isn't
it? Yeah. Usually it's not necessarily right then, it's within a year or two usually.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are usually pretty strong changes when you
But as you say about the water element, she does only live a block from the beach, and her part-time job, she works at a pool. She works in a pool down at the beach.
There you go.
So there you go.
This would be perfect for Samantha. That sort of thing would really fit in with activating the water element. It's perfect for her. No?
Yeah. It certainly helps her when she goes there. So thank you, Alan. Thanks, Alan.
Hang on a minute. Moving forward. Why won't I move forward? Come on. There we go. So I see life on Earth like a huge jigsaw where we all link together in various ways. And one of those links are people with elements that are not activated in the chart will always seek out those who have an abundance of that element. And as we saw with Blake, these people may need an element activated which the first person has got an abundance of and provides. So you get a swap. Huh? This happens a lot, and it's one of the major relationship attractions that so many astrologers overlook. They can't understand why an Aquarius is with a Cancer, for example, But when you look...
Alice, I just want to make sure that we're looking at the right, because we can still see Cheryl's chart. Is that what you want us to see?
No, we're on the... What's happened there?
It hasn't moved forward.
Well, why haven't you moved forward? Let's press buttons. I'll just move forward like this. Is it moved forward now?
No, still Cheryl's chart.
All right, let's go again.
Sorry about that, guys.
Get more time to look at it.
What about now?
No,
still there.
Still there.
It's stuck. Why is it stuck?
So would you be comfortable stop sharing and then resharing? Because sometimes it needs just a bit of a reboot.
Will do.
Yeah, let's try that again.
Where's my share thing?
Just at the bottom there with a little arrow. Can you see?
Yeah, I'm doing it now.
Cool. Right. Yeah. So now we see a jigsaw puzzle. Is that right? Perfect.
So there we are. So I see life on Earth like a huge jigsaw where we're all linked there. So we've got a person who hasn't a planet activating an element being very drawn. So we've got an Aquarius with nothing activating water, massively drawn to a Cancerian who hasn't got anything activating air. So you get a mutual attraction there, as we saw with Blake and was it Sue? Yeah. That happens a great deal, like a lot more than you'd realise, huh? And it's one of the major relationship attractions that so many astrologers overlook. But they feel very, very satisfied when they're with people who are activating the element they don't have activated. It's one of those sort of almost soul connections that you can't break, or if you do, it causes great distress. Oh, so there we are. Thank you for attending my talk. I hope you found it interesting and helpful. And there's my website address, which I covered Dwad charts in quite extensively. And anybody who wants to contact me for anything, that's my email address.
Thank you very much, Alice. That was
All
wonderful.
right.
That was
So-
wonderful. Yeah, thank
Yes.
you.
Mm.
Really appreciate
Any questions?
Alice, would you like to just stop sharing now, and then we can bring everyone in to the room?
Hold on.
Do you want to
Stop
just
sharing.
yeah,
Stop sharing. All right, there we go. Go up there and I can bring you all up.
You haven't stopped sharing yet. We can still see your.
I did stop sharing. Where was it? I'll go share and then I'll just stop share.
See your screen.
It keeps getting stuck. No, it's not registering it. I don't know why it's not. There we go.
Okay. I just did it for you. That's all good.
Thanks. So, any questions, anybody? Have I got a dead silence? We're so Australian. If it's American, they ask me multiple questions all the time. Australians usually don't. They go home and practice it themselves. Yeah?
I've got one. I've got a question.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little bit off the topic, but it's something you mentioned. I was just interested to know, did you actually have a look at astrology from the Southern Hemisphere point of view, or to get completely with the whole chart, or just with why just the South nodes?
Oh, no. I must admit, dear, I wouldn't mind a research group for this. I do know the zodiac is the same. It doesn't change, right? Because you're not going to get a Capricorn acting like a Cancerian or it doesn't change. You've got the Northern Hemisphere signs of Aries through to like Virgo, and the Southern Hemisphere signs of Libra through to like Pisces.
Yeah.
So Libra is our spring sign. It's not going to work like an autumn sign does in the Northern Hemisphere. Capricorn's our summer sign, for God's sakes. I remember a Northern Hemisphere astrologer, traditional astrologer, coming to Adelaide and pontificating on how Capricorn was a cold sign. And we were sitting in that room in 35-degree heat and all sweating like mad in the middle of Capricorn summer. I thought, this is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah? What I have noticed is that people born in summer tend to be bigger and stronger and more extrovert. So you've got big, strong, extrovert Capricorns, though they're still very organised and can put round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes, just the same as the Northern Hemisphere Capricorns too, and so on. The Aquarians are, again, high summer. They're not going to be sitting freezing there with their revolutionary ideas in the middle of winter. They're out and about networking with people. So their approach is still social, but it's a much warmer, happy approach. So
I'm still a bit uncomfortable with all that. I don't know why it doesn't sit very well with me. But I don't know how to resolve it either, because most astrologers will still say quite adamantly the signs are still the signs.
Yes, they are. They don't change. Just the manifestation of them changes according to the season. The signs are very much still the signs. So we do need a lot of tricks, because what the Northern Hemisphere people do is mix up the signs and the seasons. So all their interpretation of the signs is according to their seasons in the mid-latitudes of the Northern Hemisphere. This is not applicable to the equator, the Southern Hemisphere, or the poles. It's just not. Quite a few people live on the equator in the Southern Hemisphere, so a whole lot of people it's not applicable to. There's a difference between the signs and the seasons. The signs do not change, but their manifestation can change somewhat through the different seasons. Like you're getting summer Capricorns, summer Aquarians, as opposed to winter Capricorns, winter Aquarians. Likewise, winter Leos as opposed to summer Leos. Because of the different seasons, there's going to be a slightly different manifestation of that energy. There's a lot of research. How does all this work on the equator when there ain't any seasons? How does it work? It just bears a lot of research, and most of the time we haven't done it because most of us have been born of Northern Hemisphere people for about 3 generations, and I think it takes about 5 generations for it to actually be able to discern a clear difference there. I've done a few traditional astrology lectures, and I remember sitting there. I was the only 5th generation Australian in the room. Everybody else was either from a Northern Hemisphere country or the children of people from the Northern Hemisphere. The whole traditional astrology thing was done for the mid-latitudes of the Northern Hemisphere. It's not, a lot of it is not applicable in the Southern Hemisphere. And this is where astrology, I'm too old now, I'm in 80s, but it's where people need to get together and do some really thorough research on how it works. But I'm adamant the signs don't change. I've done a lot of research on that. A Capricorn is not a Cancer, nor is a Cancer a Capricorn. The signs don't change, but the manifestation through the different seasons will adjust it. No?
Well, yeah, maybe the solstices and equinoxes need to be something a bit separate, because somebody born in spring is definitely going to be different from someone born in winter.
Indeed.
I don't know how
Exactly. As I said, when I talk to Northern Hemisphere astrologers, they just can't conceive of separating the seasons and the signs. The whole thing is one thing in their heads, but it's not. The zodiac signs, I think, are the energy field of the Earth. And you get the Northern Hemisphere signs, Southern Hemisphere signs as the Earth rotates. But they're not the same. The seasons and the signs are not the same. They're just, a lot of the thinking is very silly when you start living on the equator or start living in the Southern Hemisphere. A lot of it is just not, it's silly,
Yeah.
It bewildered me when I was teaching myself as a young astrologer. I thought, well, for 2 years I was a cosmobiologist because I just couldn't comprehend, what I was reading in the Northern Hemisphere books and apply them to the Southern Hemisphere. So I thought I'll discard the signs altogether and just do cosmobiology. And I am a good cosmobiologist. I was taught by Doris Greaves, and she was a very thorough teacher. But when you look at the whole of astrology, I think it's silly to discard one piece of it because you don't understand what's happening. So I spent quite a lot of time trying to sort out that area. As I said, I'm 82 now. It's time a few other astrologers who have been born Australians for 4 or 5 generations can put their heads down and start working it out.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Who've thought?
Yeah, I had very good Northern Hemisphere teachers for her books. Like, I had Carter and Addie and Margaret Hone and Davison and all of those people, the English astrologers, were the first books I came across. And Carter was a very scientific and organised astrologer. He was a very good first teacher for me via his books. But of course, none of them comprehended that what they were teaching wasn't going to make sense in the Southern Hemisphere. So I could remember sitting there clutching my hair in my hands and thinking, I've got to cut and cut and cut if I want to continue with this subject. I did.
We've got a few more minutes left. I'm just wondering if there are any more questions that anyone has, maybe on the Dwad chart or anything like that.
We've
I
got
just
some
didn't.
chats there, I think, haven't we?
Just saying, people saying great project, thanks very much. So they're not actually questions. So
I think we need to have a think about things. It's been a lot to digest, hasn't it?
yeah, I did my Dwad chart, which I thought was interesting while you were speaking, because I've never looked at it myself through that lens, and it was interesting. My sun, my moon, and my Mercury are all in the Dwad chart in Aquarius. And I've always had a draw to Aquarius, so for various reasons. So that kind of makes a lot of sense. So I was wondering where it was in my chart, and there it is. So thank you for that.
You probably know this, Alice, but in the Vedic tradition, the third divisional chart has something to do with the vitality in brothers and sisters, but it also has to do with on one level of one calculation they do with it, it has got to do with sexual energy and sexual attraction.
Yeah, I've lost. I still know a fair amount about my Vedic charts, but I haven't gone into, like as I said, I had to make a decision on which one to do the thorough research on, and the Vedic lost, and the Indian astrology was teaching me went back to India, and so I didn't even really learn Sanskrit. Only read a bit. But it's very, very good system and very, very thorough. The thing is, I could never make sense of their own samas. There are so many of them, and why they had to do that fiddly bit when you can easily calculate everything accurately using Western astrology, mathematics, and so on. So I thought, oh, look, I'm born in the West. That's what I'm meant to do, and that's what I did. And what really put me off, because I was on a lot of Vedic forums for quite a few years, and we had one Indian astrologer who determined that he could tell the sex of whether the father was actually the father of the child that the wife was carrying, you know? Yeah. And he used a system using the Placidus house casts to determine this. And I sort of said, wrote on the forum, I said, it's only one of many house systems. And I said, not everybody will resonate to the Placidus system. Quite a few people don't. Well, he was furious at me. He bellowed at me in large caps over the forum that I was undermining the very basis of astrology. And I thought, oh, for God's sakes, all these poor women he's telling their husbands they're not the father of their child because of his ridiculous system. You know, I got so annoyed. Because they're very, I mean, as I said, Western astrology is really sexist, but it's not a patch on Vedic astrology, which is extraordinarily sexist. Everything's written from the male point of view. You know?
I'm going to kind of jump in here because we're at time. I don't want to cut people off. So what I might do is I might just pass over. I've got to go myself, but I might pass over if you want to just continue chatting, because what you just said, Alice, has got some. I'm sure a lot of people would want to respond to what you just said. You know, these are some big topics. I'm quite happy to just leave the chat, and then people can leave when they're ready. But from my point, I just want to say thank you, Alice. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us. Huge thanks. I certainly learned something tonight. Next month we're back in person, if you can make it, at the Shaky. So we're excited for that. We have Lisa O'Brien, who's going to be speaking about Chinese astrology. So that's going to be interesting for us. Lisa read my Chinese astrology recently, and it was really interesting. You know, as we talk about different systems, if you like, it's really interesting because we can always learn. So that's going to be one to put in your diary. We're back on the so what month are we in? May. So it's going to be the last Wednesday of June. So that will be 24th of June. Yeah. So so put it in your diary, and we'll send out the communication and everything as soon as we can.
I be facetious? Anyone short of water in their chart, meet us at the pub next month.
A very good suggestion, I think. So I'm going to hand over to you, Bob, if you like, and then I'll just say good night. So I'm going to make Bob the host, and then, you know, when Bob goes, everyone finishes. So thanks,
Okay.
everyone. You take
Okay,
care.
thank
See you
you.
next month.
Thanks,
Bye,
Lauren.
Lawrence.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hopefully this will work. If you all get cut off, I apologize.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Via Chinese astrology, which I have studied, Melvin Artley was my teacher, and he wrote the Chinese astrology program, Imperial Astrologer for Solar Fire, if you remember. Anyway, I did a bit of research with that connected to elements as well. And I found that if somebody didn't have planets activating an element in the Western chart, that element was often quite strongly activated in the Chinese chart.
Oh,
So I
wow.
thought that's something you can play with a bit too, no?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. Melbourne was a great fun because while he was teaching us Chinese astrology, he was writing the Imperial Astrologer program as he went. We were all testing it out. It was awfully good fun. Yeah? And I do like Chinese astrology. It's not based in any way like Western astrology. It's usually more mathematical patterns, but it's really interesting to study.
It's also powerfully elemental.
Yeah, it is.
Really ties in with what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating there's so much to play with in astrology. There's so much I haven't done because I've put all my attention in things I was slightly more interested in. You know, but that was one that I would have loved to have become a bit more expert in. You know, somebody wants to know my sign. I'm Aquarius. You know, I'm very Aquarius actually. So there we are. Now, what else what I forgot to mention in the beginning because I was so flustered being half an hour late. I used to go to SARS in the 90s, and that was every Wednesday then.
Yes.
It's the highlight of my life. It really was. I just loved going to those meetings.
I was wondering what year it was when you gave a talk for us.
I gave several talks to SARS.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of them. I ran a big 6 months relationship course there, and I presented bits of it to SARS. But I was in Sydney from 1991 to, I think it was 1997 or 1998. And I attended an enormous amount of SARS talks. I was there when Ed Taplin gave his first talk. And I sat up and I thought, who's this? This is somebody. He knows.
Yeah, really.
Oh, boy, he was so interesting. There were a lot of really, really good astrologers giving talks there.
Yeah. And we used to meet in the city, and we used to have adjoining rooms, and I always had to order a double room because people just, there was a huge amount of people always wanted to listen to Ed. Yeah, he was very captivating. Yeah.
Oh, it was great. And I really did well, but he killed himself by working too hard, I think. Anyway, I was terribly sad when he died. I always thought he was a wonderful man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Anybody got any more questions? And we'll finish up if you haven't.
Yep. Alice, one of the questions in the chat was, what is your sun sign?
Yeah,
she said sensitive.
Covered that. Yeah, I'm Aquarius.
Oh, you did. I beg your pardon.
I'm 2nd of February.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Right. Very Aquarian.
Very.
Well, I have to agree about the Vedic. When I started astrology, which is about 30-something years ago, I was doing Vedic and Western at the same time, virtually, which was a bit of an overload, and I was in a car accident, so I had to give up one. So just wanted to say, I'm born in India, but I have chosen to do Western astrology.
Oh, okay.
So you know how you were saying, like, well, you would choose Western rather than Vedic because you're born here in Western.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd just give the other view. And I found that the Vedic, and I did do quite a bit of it. I have still quite a lot of Vedic books that I don't look at anymore, obviously. I just found it very on the negative side, especially when you relate to the women, astrology about women. It was just nowhere to go with it kind of thing,
Yeah. I found myself quite offended at times, like, anyway, it's just that, I think we can change all that in the future,
Yes. I think there's a lot of Indians probably trying to do that. I was doing it when we were going to the Masonic Center with, I can't think of the guys from the mountains that passed away. You know, he did the book
Vedic guy.
on the notes. Yeah, the Vedic guy.
Yeah, the Vedic guy. Yeah.
Gosh, my mind's blank.
Yeah.
You know who I mean, yeah.
I know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we were there at the Masonic Center every month with him. He came down to Sydney every month. And I had a program, you know, at the time, computer program on the Vedic and all that. So I looked at it pretty intensely, but I thought you can only do so much. You know, we don't have that much long lifespans to do all this.
I know.
And, you know, it's such, astrology is such a complex subject.
Yeah.
If you want to do it properly, you should pick one or the other, really, you know, in my view.
Well,
it doesn't mean don't, yeah.
I couldn't do, I had to do one or the other. It's impossible. Yeah. I looked at it and I thought, oh, either way I go, it's centuries of learning. I mean, I'm still in the 80s and still learning. Like, I'm going, you won't possibly need a whole series of lifetimes to even get anywhere, I think,
Yeah.
There are a lot of astrologers now doing Vedic and applying much more modern interpretations. Also, a lot of Vedic astrologers are also using the Western system, as in Aries starts with the spring equinox. So you can actually apply a lot of what using their what they say. You can actually use Vedic astrology in a Western manner, in a point of view.
Yeah.
You know, it's not everyone. I agree with you. But
on the forums I was on, they were sort of working towards to merge it, which was really interesting, that forum.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say in the early 1950s in Calcutta, India, we were given a number of books by our local Indian lawyer on different subjects, including anatomy, physiology, and Christ knows what else. But the astrology books we were given were on Western astrology by an Indian lawyer, who then became the first Indian judge in Calcutta. So he was the first actually non-Western judge.
Non-Western judge,
Yeah, and in this early 1950s, when we were given these books when I was about 5 years old, my mother would go to him for advice on there was no counseling back then. You either went to the priest or the Indian lawyer, who was the friend down the road. So he didn't have time to talk to. He was a barrister at that stage. And he would give her a book on anatomy one month and a book on astrology the next and a book on something else. So I have they were all small books. The Indian people used to often give them out free back then. You know, if they were kind of like reasonably well off, they would print them themselves and just give them to you. You know, so my books on astrology from India are on Western astrology. So that's what I had as, you know, as a younger person. And I didn't even know that there was such a thing as Vedic astrology till I came to Australia. Yeah.
It sounds here. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Can I just ask Alice to recap, when you're looking at these elements, you looked at the progress, you looked at the conception chart.
Well, you can't really unless you get the right conception chart.
Right.
So you look at the natal chart to see, you know, whether there's any water planets angular, which or fire planets angular, depending on what the element is. Then you look at the Dwad chart, and that's almost as important as the natal. It really is a powerful underlying energy. That usually does provide the element that you haven't got activated by planets. It almost always does. But then even if it does, you also look at secondary progressions as they move through, or almost always you get an ascendant, or if not an ascendant, a midheaven IC axis that will be activating the element that the planets aren't. And they're really important times in the person's life. Like there's some big things that happen that activate that element for them.
Right. Progressions, yes. Yep.
The progressions. If you can get the right conception chart, which is, you know, I mean, people were very, they don't do it properly. I mean, you can have several systems, but they forget to look at the parents' charts to see. It will show on both the father and the mother's charts if a child is conceived.
It's in solar fire, isn't it?
Yeah, the prenatal system,
Yeah.
the Jane systems are all on Solarfire.
Yeah.
You can have a play with those. The
Right.
prenatal
Okay.
epoch I practiced when I was a very young astrologer and having my own children, and all my friends were having their children, and they were all natural births, because back then there wasn't the medical assistance there is now.
What about cesarean?
Cesarean doesn't work at all. It
Oh.
doesn't work at all with induction. It works, but a little bit out with forceps deliveries, you know.
Oh.
Sometimes it's yeah, you've got to have pretty well a natural birth for the Bailey system to work, you know.
No
And all his
interference.
research was done when there was only natural births. There wasn't any medical, assessments there. When he did all of his research and presented his theories. But it can be a little bit tricky. And the way you check whether it's the right one, well, the way I check whether it's the right one is I do a day-age harmonic for the conception chart for when the child was born. And if that shows the birth, I know I've probably got the right conception chart. And very frequently it's the Uranus trigger. Yeah?
Thank you, Alice. That was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have fun, everybody.
Yes.
Lovely to be at STARS again, even if it's only by Zoom.
Yeah, it was so lovely. Yeah. Well, I'll be in touch about your banking details.
Thanks, dear.
Okay.
That's lovely. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See everyone on the 24th.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hmm.